Hey, what's up, dudes? I had another Legends session the other night. Keith was asking for a recap. I wanted to do it earlier today, but here we are. So the thing I had worked on beforehand was this is about what I think Emers's armor is going to look like when it's all said and done. I figured it's very Golden Warrior fitting. I got some information the way like spaceship drives work inside Legends universe. I'm probably not going to share it here. If anyone doesn't know and wants to know, you can always hit me up and I'll share that information. But otherwise, I'll end up talking for just an hour about like starship drives and warp and all that kind of stuff. There's something called celestial gates as well. It was all pretty fascinating, like as a sci-fi geeky person, to hear how it works inside that universe. As far as my actual session goes, I'm fast forwarded another 6 months. So I'm about 2 years into my 5 year skip now. I'm looking for these crystals to help with one of the things I'm making. I'm making this talisman to boost my defensive matrix into something called a diamond matrix. And it's just basically making the ability stronger, able to withstand more punishment. Because, that's the thing now is, when fighting threes and stuff like that, their blast can easily overwhelm it. Or, signature blast can sometimes overwhelm it. But, it's really good at picking up smaller blasts. And, decent sized ones, too. The people, I don't know about finishers, but yeah, even some finishers and stuff like that. I feel like I've kind of vacuumed up, and then I kind of turn them bishop style. But as opposed to redirecting them into energy, I'd put them in my fist. So it's a pretty dope ability for making someone hit really really hard. So we're out here in kind of the expanse of space, away from the Republic, away from Makoto systems, all that kind of stuff. Because I got a hot tip on something that will help me make this talisman. I'm out there on my ship. I bring Rohan, Saya, and Opal's with me, so it's full. It's a full crew right now. Rohan and I are out in our Evo suits, while Opal and Sai are inside. Which, come to think of it, Sai is definitely the weakest still. She's a C rank, so she's not even ascended. Opal, I think I was asking the DM about this. Is she can get it in with someone who's about a Super Saiyan level, but she's definitely more of a utilitarian backline kind of character. But she's no slouch. She's still a super being, which is cool. She's not completely sweet. I think I'm pretty much still the can of the group, even though Rohan has some crazy strength and speed, or maybe not even speed. He's got decent speed, but his the DM would have to probably correct me on that. But his strength and durability are that of a low three, which is insane because threes hit really really hard. But he and I are out there on this mining operation. He comes across the highest percentage of a deposit. We're getting close to it, using these scanning devices and tools. So we go out there. The where we're scanning is in the middle of a pulsar star, which releases a lot of crazy radiation, and it's something that I've experienced before, where it messes our senses up a good bit. So my ship has this energy field that it puts out to kind of it's about the size of a small city, maybe a New York or something like that. So we can work on these asteroids to mine these crystals. At the back of my mind as a player, the DMs just send me this thing about how dangerous things can be out here and everything like that. I was like, oh man, we're so getting jumped in this. And sure enough, we find the deposit and we start working on it, and something happens to the ship. There's this strange looking dust substance with these little white lights, and the DM explains to me it's kind of a disruption chaff that's used to temporarily disable certain parts of ships. It's not it's destructive in nature, but it's ships are scary in this universe. My ship has the power to destroy in a second of Zuru kind of thing, which is nuts. So it is disabled, but not it's not its engines or anything like that. It's more its field system, which is its defense and offense things are disabled. So it starts taking evasive maneuvers, and we get jumped. Specifically, someone's coming from above us. There's a white light. So I was like, Rohan, wait here. I charge off after that. I'm already powered up at this point. So I'm good to go. And I kind of like, I'm trying to sense out. Oh, that was the thing is whatever this chaff thing, it put like cracks in the field, so it made it hard to sense out. So I started to like just look around visually, and I did catch someone visually, and it was this woman, and she was a two, and she's like charging right at me to punch me. I was like, oh, that's a mistake. Like we were talking about those death magic users. You want to get a couple of like, you don't want to get close on Everest anymore. Like Everest isn't sweet when it comes to his physicality and just the fact that he's like his signature technique makes him a living bomb. So she gets up on him, and it's like the because she had like a bit of an advantage, like she had seen me before I saw her, and our senses were like, if I had sensed her, I feel like we would have been a little more equal footing. So I just started like, trying to like block her strikes, and like bang bang bang, she throws like a combo into me, and I managed to keep up with the blocking because I've definitely trained a lot more with my physical side here recently. I've been looking to get Emrys up to be like the true Saiyan warrior, who's also like blends in like the magic and everything like that. And I was like, because what I was originally was, I was like, DM, do I have time to get my armor up? And he's like, maybe, but like she's kind of close to you, so like you're probably better off like blocking and then like pulling it up as you're blocking. And I was like, awesome, I'll do that. And it's just one of those ones where it's like she bang combos, and it's block block block, and as she gets through like 3/4 of the way through that combo, like Emrys just stops blocking. And I said like that was just one of those moments in real world where it's just like you kind of feel like you're a badass character, where there's someone who's equal power to you and they're striking you. And the DM was like, well, player, her next strike is coming right for your heart. And I was like, okay, DM, I don't block it, but I shift to the left. Like I basically flash step to the left. So she still hits me, but like just so it isn't in my heart. Like just, we listen, we can't get too crazy with eating hits or anything like that. Like who knows what kind of crazy stuff she had. So like worst case, like she hits like my breast muscle or something like that. Like try to avoid the lungs, definitely the heart. So she hits it, and I was like, DM, when she strikes, I just want to grab like both of her hands, because it's like one of those ones where it's like Emrys is decently physically imposing. I think he's like 6'6" or something like that. The decently sized dude. But like you're just like you're like a two fighting another two, and then you're equal-ish levels. Like I think I was a bit up on her, but like when someone like does that disrespectful move, they stop blocking your strikes because I brought out that Colossus armor, is just it felt really good, because it's just like, yeah, she hits you, and it's like I grabbed her hand and then pulled my head back and bang, headbutted the mess out of her. It was one of those ones where it's like you felt like I could have maybe dropped her out of, like, she barely held on to like her form or something like that. And I was just like, it was one of those ones for me. It was a great moment because I think I said before, like the thing where I snapped the cosmic being's arms just by crushing them. It really makes you appreciate like how brutal and like how strong like that Saiyan gap is when it comes to at least this level of fighting. So bang, I did that, smacked her head back, and she started to fly away. And then there's something happening behind me, and I was like, DM, like I gotta focus on the opponent in front of me. Like I got my armor up, so I'm hoping whatever it is I could take that blast or take that hit. But what I do is like I didn't actually let go of her. Whenever I headbutted her back, it was just like I pulled her back into me, spun her around, and then brought my arm up around her neck, and then she started to pull this katana out. I think she did it slightly before, but I grabbed her arm that has the katana. So I have like my one arm holding onto her other arm, and then like kind of like gripping around her neck, and then I have her other arm kind of like pinning her there. And I see Rohan is fighting this life magic construct called a golem. And golems are kind of like vicious when it comes to durability, but like this one is also like really strong and really fast. But from what I can tell, like the levels of things that I kind of gathered that are out there, whoever's doing this is basically putting all themselves in it. Like a high tier magic, high tier life magic user would be like fighting beside this golem, but because the level or the strength of this golem they're putting into it, like they're just putting everything. And Rohan is just like wailing on this thing, and like the hits he gives are like, he's very Hulk like with his fighting. It's very like at least like the early Hulk, like unrefined smashing kind of stuff, and he's just trying to like smash this goal like and the hits are like the way he's coming down, like the DM's like, you wouldn't want to take these hits to the face, because like Rohan was like almost like 4 level when he was the full Lobo Hulk, and like after that thing wore off, like his hits are like that of a 3, and it's like hits of a 3 or not, or you don't mess around with those when you're like a 2 or below. Like you don't take those on the chin. Like yeah, you can maybe block them and they'll send you flying back and they'll hurt, but like you don't take those to the chin for sure. Even like with the Colossus armor like lets me survive them, but like no, no, we're not all about that. So he's wailing on the Golem, and I'm like, okay, like I start to look for it, and I start to look for the life magic user, and we can't sense anything at this point because the ship flew off somewhere to kind of disengage to hopefully countermeasure this chaff, which is like, okay, perfect. Like, if we can get the ship back in action, like, these people are toast because the ship is going to toast a bunch of 2s. I don't know what all is out there yet, but, like, you know, so far we've experienced about 2 levels of fighter. There's a level 2, there's probably a Super Saiyan 2 life magic user, and there was that 2 chick that I've got gripped up right now. And I, like, kind of, like, have her gripped up, and I start, like, choking her out, and I said, calm off. I was like, I've snapped a 3's neck like this. So what I've technically done is I've snapped someone who's at a Super Saiyan 3's, was it her? It might have been, I can't remember if I actually. No, I didn't end up getting that off. But like I crushed the Cosmic Being arms, who sensed like the power of a 3. So little exaggeration, but you know the strength that I did and everything like that, like the strength that I kind of showed to her, like the overwhelming power I have over her. I was like, maybe it'll be enough to like that we can like talk this out a little bit before we have to murder a bunch of Saiyans. And she's like, even if I did, they wouldn't stop. And I was like, God damn it, that's the wrong answer. So I was gonna I was just gonna like choke her out, but I'm like okay with crushing her windpipe or anything like that. Like I'm okay with putting that kind of strength and power to it because I'm still channeling that Colossus armor. That Colossus armor has grown to the point where it's a 10x multiplier of my strength and tenacity. That power has blown up because I've used that power a lot, and I know like the DM basically said like over time, like this time skip and everything like that, certain powers are developing more. That's definitely one of the ones. Like that was something new I got as far as details go. So at that point, like shortly there afterwards, there's this black aura that comes around me, and it feels like it's sapping my energy. And I can't tell if it's coming from her or somewhere else. And I kind of pieced together it's not coming from her. So I was like, okay, screw it. I I pull out 2 pillars and I collapse them on myself and then toss her, like basically let her go and make myself the epicenter because I want to blow whatever this thing's off because it's draining me. As I'm doing that, she goes unconscious because I'm like, I've been choking her this whole time. And I was like, it took me a second, like, why? Like, maybe the thing sapped her, and it's like, oh, no, no, like, I just never stopped choking her. So I was like, okay, like, listen, maybe we're still in the, like, Emrys is not like the cold-blooded killer yet when it comes to, like, the player is, like, the player understands all that. Like, you don't leave these people alive, but Emrys is not all about that yet. Yeah, so he does what he can to try to 1 second here. He does what he can. So instead of like letting her go and letting her hit with a blast, he actually pulls her into the epicenter with him, which is it can be safe-ish in there. And boom, he lets off one of those pillar explosions. Those pillars are scary. They can knock like someone of equal power down by about half if I catch someone like at the point blank range of them. But the thing about them is it's not that it's like they're either radial bombs when like I'm in the middle of them like that one, or they're shape charges where it's like they basically blow out at an angle when I punch them. But like they are immensely powerful because of the mechanics involved in them, like because they're not just a traditional blast you throw, like they're basically these shape charges that get like charged by the specific act of me like punching them with a certain amount of force when that goes. So boom, it like basically sends this shockwave off through space, ripples everything, and it blows the aura off me, and the the girl, I still have like a hold of the girl, and I see the guy who is doing this to me, and he is or I presume the guy that's doing it to me, he's like the next one I see in my sights. He I'm like, oh, okay, like this guy's gotta go, because I found out in that like short thing, like between me using a couple of techniques, uh, rendering this person unconscious and like everything like that, like it took about 25% of my energy when it only should have taken about like 6 or 7% to pull off the things I did with all the techniques. So like he drained me a good almost like 20% like in just a few moments. I was like, okay, DM, like this guy's got to go. And so I start like charging at him and pulling out the two more pillars, and I'm like, I'm gonna get up on this guy. He summons this Ghost Rider esque skull, but it's got blue flames instead of red coming out of it, and it like appears in front of my face, and I can't progress further. Like, it feels like it's the worst idea in the world to like pursue this guy. Like, it's one of those like overwhelming things where it's just like you don't want to get closer to him. And it felt similar to the Cerberus, but not as severe when it came to like, it felt like it was like fear and terror, but it didn't feel like that same kind of terribleness, I guess, to an extent. Like the Cerberus was just that orders of magnitude greater, but it was enough to stop me in my tracks. I was like, oh, okay, screw it, DM. Like I stopped, but what I do is I use my forward momentum to kick my two pillars out in front of me, bang, and I shape charge him out of him. And he's the decent distance away, but it's enough to like blow him back. And he's like trying to catch himself. And I'm like, all right, DM, like I can't get sapped by him again, because like if he's at range and knowing that sapping technique on me, he's going to take 20% anyway. So why not just spend 25% and Harlequin it up? So as he's flying away, the Harlequin mask comes around me, and the next thing you know, I am up on this guy, and we're not screwing around this time. 3 pillars come out. Again, I think like 1 pillar properly detonated is enough to like knock someone down who's equal level to me. Maybe not like knock them unconscious or knock them out of 2, but like severely reduce their power. So bang, 3 pillars. And he's like trying to recover, but I am way too fast for him. Like, this is the form I'm in, like when I'm flash stepping plus the the Harlequin mask. Like, this is like the thing that lets me bang with threes for a time. And the crazy part is I have 3 other things now that lets me be even faster, but for short bursts. But like I just used the 2 because the one is like a before fight prep thing, but it has a limited number of charge, and the other was my hammer, and I just didn't use that at the time because everything was happening so fast and we were so jumped. But the Harlequin mask was enough to get me up on him, and he just kind of gets caught by surprise, and 3 pillars come in, boom! This one's a massive explosion. I don't know, like, because I think the only reason the asteroids didn't get destroyed was because I had flown out of them. Because I was like, man, like if I did this inside of it, like I feel like we just came out here for nothing because I just destroyed the deposit. But luckily, he was fighting outside of it, and this dude he gets rocked. Like I think he's just like done for, because like I said, my speed gap for fighting at my levels, like you know me fighting a 2, it's like we keep up with each other, but I have so many multipliers on top of that at this point. Like I have 25x with Harlequin mask for 30 seconds. I have base 2x with my hammer, and then I have to ask the DM like what kind of multiplier these like rare coins, I basically these talismans I made. So like they basically have 2 forms. Like if it's like one, there's like there's 2 Harlequin masks, and like one's like on each side, and depending on what side it's up, like one will give me speed and one will give me agility. But like I said, I have those 3 multipliers on top of. So it's like 25. The hammer's base is 2, but I can actually feed more into it to get like I can basically burn off more energy to get more speed, like up to 4, 6, 8x, maybe even 10x, I think. Then I have the coins, and then I have my Kaioken style tattoos. But the Kaioken things are like for a single burst. Like I've learned, like it's not like a traditional Kaioken of like you burn it out and it puts that stress on your body. It's that you burn a certain amount of energy and then you basically get like one maneuver off of it. So it's like I'm very much like, I don't want to say an all-in kind of thing, but like I am kind of an all-in fighter because my signature move is those pillars. So like if I can get up on you with them, like I'm devastating, and I have a lot of ways to close that gap, as I've come to find out. And like I said, the 10x buff to strength and tenacity, on top of already being a Saiyan and like a pretty decent one at that at this point, leaves me pretty durable even when things are getting in there. I'm hoping this armor really kind of really shores up a couple of things. I've got this, and I've got like two other things I think that's being crafted right now that we're working on. So it's the armor, the talisman, and I've got like this belt of strength that I'm gonna get like hopefully from this dude called Boar the Herald of Power, and he's one of the elders as well. But I'm hoping like before I like pursue him or something like that, like I have this golden armor because like Boar loves like showmanship and like people who show off like the kind of like showy displays of power. So like what better way to show up is like this Saiyan with this ornate golden armor and like who's basically a living bomb that blows stuff up. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I knocked the dude out. Like kind of like devastate that guy with the three pillar blast. I start like immediately looking around for the next target because like I know at least life magic users out there, and I don't know what else is. And then I see my ship reappear because it's ridiculously fast, and I see that the chaff has been shaken off, and I realize that we're all fighting inside of this thing called a something or other field. I'd have to look up my notes, but I don't feel like I'll look right now. But like, there's an active field or something like that, and inside of that, like the ship basically can react to things outside of it, and it basically lets off this massive series of explosions that renders the other stuff unconscious. Apparently, there was 8 people here that were jumping us, and I think some of them had chased the ship, and I think there was 4 of them that was going for the 2 of us. So I handled 2. Rohan handled the golem because he comes over afterwards, and he's got like the golem's like brick head and arm in his hand, but it damaged his suit, so he can't like speak. So I like kind of relay to our team. Rohan's okay. We're coming back to the ship. Just as soon as that's happening, the destroyer called the Sunrise, which is Hikaru's, who, if you guys don't happen to remember, he's the cyborg type Saiyan who's a second to Zuru, who runs the one mercenary guild that I ran into during the Premier Saga. And he just kind of shows up out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like, because Hikaru and I have become, I don't want to say close, but like we basically have a professional relationship at this point where we like are in community. Because like I'm basically, I got put kind of in charge in dealing with him and specifically that planet, like, or that area, like the Mercenaries Guild, because Dakamon kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that. Whereas like I'm more the businessman type, so I kind of got like, oh, like let's let Emrys handle it and like see how it goes. He shows up. My ship's a little banged up. I pull the people on board because I don't know who these people are. I'm like, maybe like they're Hikaru's people and they're just like out of line, or like they didn't know who I was or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I want to keep relations good, so I bring them on board, sedate them. They're like, all like the people I had done, like I rendered the one chick unconscious, the other dude's blacked out. I don't know which one the life magic user was, but the ship like rendered the rest of them out because like a bunch of 2s are nothing to that ship apparently. Yeah, so we get them on one ship, sedate them. Hikaru's people reach out to me, and they're like, "Yeah, listen, we understand you got some damage. Plus, Hikaru wants to see Emrys." I'm like, right on, dude. Like, I am there. Beck and call, baby. Let's go. Because Hikaru is a cool guy. Like, we have he. I come to find out, like his group they're all uninitiated Saiyans, so they're all non-mystic Saiyans, and there's a bit of, I think like people tend to look down on uninitiated Saiyans in Arcanian space, a little casual racism and stuff like that. But like Emerson's not about that. Like he sees them as equal. Now I talk a lot about me chumping like base level Saiyans out. Like I don't think there's a base 2 out. I don't not base. I don't think there's a 2 anywhere near my level who can bang with me. Like I'm an Arcanian Saiyan. Like you're not ready for the level gaps that I bring to the table. So yeah, I guess I'm a little racist like that. But but like Everest is very much like, he doesn't look down on that. It's just like, it's kind of like certain Saiyans are gifted and certain ones aren't, kind of thing. Like it's not that you necessarily look down on them, they're all Saiyans. But Hikaru made his mercenaries guild out of all people who were basically talented but like rejected because they weren't initiated. They weren't like steeped in Arcanian magics. which is funny because he does business with Emrys. So we get on board, and they said, well, can we can fix up your ship for you? And I was like, yeah, Hikaru's the homie. Like, he can take care of the ship. They can have look over. When I found out what happened was, Saya flew my ship through like the what's it called of the star. I forget what the outside is. Like, there's a fancy word for it, but I want to say like cornea, but that's not it. Maybe it starts with a C. Anyway, and she basically burnt the chaff off, but it caused some damage and everything like that. But like nothing extensive or like overly hull related. Like, not, it wasn't about to like fall apart. And I was like, yeah, sure, you guys can check it out. And this woman Prim was like, she's a Super Saiyan. She was like, Hikaru wants to like see you, and I was like, of course, of course. So I start to go, and then Rohan's like all worked up because he doesn't like people messing with the ship. He's one of those type. It's like it's hard to trust people, and then like it's his baby in a sense. Like he likes to know it inside and out. So I was like, you can stay behind. And I think he wanted someone to stay behind with him, and then Opal volunteered. Sai did not want to, and I was like, Sai, you're stuck with me. Let's go. We make a little small talk with Prim on the way there. Thank you guys for showing up when you did. Even though we kind of handled the problem, like, it's still nice to have your back. And she's like, yeah, just actually, she was kind of a little happenstance that we ran into you out here. I was like, oh, right on. And he's like, he was scoping out some territories. So Hikaru's talking to these couple threes. He finishes up his conversation, and he comes over and talks to us. Like, he kind of pays Saya like a little platitude, and he asks her like how her eyes are doing, because he was the one that picked up that like Cameron, that Cosmic Tooth, did something to her senses. And he tests out this new thing on us, that it's like he has a cybernetic, I think, right arm, and he like kind of did some things on it, and it was actually able to boost our energy back up to 100. So I was about like 47%, and it bumped me up to 100%, but I was still powered up at that level. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, how you don't know how you did that, because like I need to look into some restorative things. I was like, you're gonna love this. Check this out. So I showed him the hammer, because Hikaru and I are like that. Like, we both have that like ingenuity spirit, whereas like his is more on the engineering side and mine is more on the craftsmanship and mystical side. But like there's kind of a mutual respect for each other's trade. And I showed him the hammer, and I was like, I know you like Second Azurus out there. Like, you just don't drop your form. You just always stay in it, because when you're at that level, like, you can't afford to power up. I was like, what this does is it allows me to keep the lower profile, but I was like, at a moment's notice, I can basically full power up, long form power up. I was like, with a crack of lightning, and he seemed like intrigued by that. Like, really, like that's something you can do? I was like, yeah. And I was like, and beyond that, I was like, you can channel ki into it, make yourself faster. Pretty awesome, right? And he seems like he's fascinated. He's checking out the runes and everything. And I was like, man, you gotta stop by the shop sometime. Like, I'll hook you up. And he's like, I was like, I really can't, because like I got like a reputation to keep. And I know what he's talking about. And he's specifically talking about that he has distanced himself a little bit when it comes to Arcanian stuff. Like, yeah, he still has to work with like Makoto and his family, just because like that's the nature of the beast. But like, as far as like employing our Arcanian Saiyans in his ranks, maybe using their technology, it's not something that he does out of probably a point of pride, but also like as a point of, see, we can do this too. Like, we can basically make a name for ourselves without being Arcanian Saiyans. And he's very much the up and comer of the mercenary guilds. The other ones are a lot older. His is a lot newer. But like, he's a cool dude. I've come through with him before. Like, I was the one, I think, that got him set up with the contracts with my folks, because I was like, listen, man, you really went to bat for me during the premiere saga and everything like that. And I was like, I'm gonna do what I can to like put in a good word for you. And he said, what you can do, he's like, do you know anyone in the lore system? And I was like, I do. And I was like, I know you probably did your homework too. And he says, I heard that she was very pleased with the work you did. And I was like, well, I was like, you're the homie, so I will 100% put you in touch with her, like in some way. Like, I can't promise you, and I think I said there was a funny little moment we shared, and because it was like there was something where he asked me to put me in the same room with someone before. Who was it? Oh, it was with Ali. Yeah, that's what it was. And I was like, listen, man. I was like, I can't promise you anything. I was like, we're just in a new relationship or something like that, like with Allie and I. I was like, but I was like, I will do what I can to see that that happens. And I did what I could, and it ended up happening. So it ended up being really good for him. Apparently, like he's got like some liaison stuff going on. Like he kind of like blew up even further from where he was. So he kind of came up, which is cool because I kind of came up too. So when he asked that, I was like, listen, I feel like I've told you this before, but I can't promise you I can get you in with Lane of Lore. I was like, but I can use what basically use the goodwill that I may have garnered with her to at least extend the idea that this is someone who I value their talents of. And if you ever need anything, he would be willing to be there for you, kind of thing. Like, so it was it was a fun little repetition of our past, where I was like, I can't promise you anything, but I'll see if I can come through with you. And if I can come through with him again, it's gonna be pretty dope, because it's like, listen, Hikaru seems like a cool dude. He's one of those cyborg type Saiyans I don't know anything about, but he's got a lot of cool abilities. I asked him, like, come by the shop. So at that point, when he declines me, I'm like, I'm gonna make him something to be obnoxious, because that's the way like Everest is when it comes like that, especially with like a home, like with a friend like that. So I think when I haven't gotten to the DM with it yet, but I think I know what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be like something that's like combines like mystics and mystical stuff and like kind of engineering, that would benefit him less so in combat and more so in his social affairs, his business affairs. And it's one of those ones, if he doesn't use it, that's okay. But if he does, it's like, it's kind of, or like, it's like one of those ones where it's like, it's still kind of a token of friendship that exists there, because like he has like kind of, I don't know, say a soft spot for me, but like he kind of has like that respect for me on like a technological level. So I was like, well, let's do something to kind of build that up. He points out that Pan is with them and Ali is here as well. So we're going to have like a bit of a reunion there. He has some stuff to take care of. He points her out to Saya. Saya goes down. She attacks Pan and does some Joe stuff. And Pan comes up to meet us. And she, like, long story short, there's like a bit of a conversation between us and everything like that. It turns out Pan has hit second form already, so she's 20 years old at this point. So she was 18, I think, whenever she hit Super Saiyan through my help, and I think I was like 18, 19. And then it took me till 25 to hit second form, and it took her 1 year to do it. So she's one of those like insanely gifted Saiyans. Like she's one of those like people that are gonna be like somebody quick. Like she's gonna be one of those ones like you're gonna see a second of zero walking around who's like 28 years old, and you're like, bro, I'm already 20. Like Emerson's like 20. I think he's like 28, 29 at this point, and it's just like, how did you get there? Like, I'm like a pretty gifted Saiyan and everything like that, and I got like, I've had like some pretty nasty battles and stuff under my belt. Like it's like I'm not out there like slacking off like watching TV or anything like that. Like I'm out there training and crafting and battling and trying to survive against threes and multiple threes sometimes. So it's like to see her like go that fast, that hard, like is crazy. Now she didn't. She was basically in Super Saiyan form. She didn't do the Ascended form yet, but she was going to show us. I was like, let's go see Rohan, because like her and Rohan have their thing, and I was like, you can show us off everything like that. We take her back to the ship. She seems like she's really bothered and hesitant and everything like that. I tell Saya, beat it, go in there, like all that kind of stuff. And she wants to tell me that like the reason she's here with Ali is like it's not that she didn't respect my decision, because in the previous session I had told her like, listen, you're a talented person, and I don't want your talent lost as a frontline fighter, as someone who is only a Super Saiyan at this point. Like, I understand the way like those greater military forces work, but it's like, if you can have time to train away from like getting yourself killed off, like you could be someone much more than just someone who's like part of that swarm of Saiyans. And I was like, but at the end of the day, the choice is yours. Just know that like, I think the better bet would be to like hold off, train more, understand more, and then go out and fight this fight. Well, apparently someone close to her that she had known, or that she had become friends with in the time that we've been separated, had died in the fight. So that kind of was her call to the cause, and she ended up joining Ali's crew. And that's why she's with them now. And she's like, she feels really bad because she feels like she betrayed me in some way. And I was like, listen, Pan, You know, the choice has always been yours. It's like I'll give you what I feel of the situation, but you're your own person now. Like you don't follow my orders or anything like that. Like you're on your own path. And that's somebody's explained to the DM. It's like I feel like Pan, Emrys, and all those that squad is on borrowed time because like they're fighting that war and everything like that. Whereas like Emrys hasn't gotten drug into it, so it's like you're looking at a very different dynamic, like a very different day in day out, like struggle versus I don't want to say luxury, but kind of like in a sense where it's like a little bit more laid back. Yeah, there's some scraps because you're a Saiyan and everything like that, but like you're not fighting an all out war versus another Saiyan empire. So it's like I feel like she's gonna kind of do herself a disservice trying to hold on to a life that she's leaving behind, but we'll see how it plays out. Um, I think Allie said she had wanted to meet with me shortly before I was putting on. I think that's actually when I was put on pause. So like I kind of walked over with Opal, you know, made some crack about because like what's her. So we had finished that up. We go into the ship. Rohan sees Pan. He gets all giddy and stuff like that, and I go over to Opal, kind of like comfort her a little bit, say say hello, say hello, like oh, like is it so sweet to see them like that, and that's where I got put on pause. I think I was going to get ready to go meet Allie, so not a crazy amount happened this session, but I did get it in. I did beat a couple Super Saiyan 2s who were or not awakened, who were initiated, so they were mystic. That was one of those ones where it's like I definitely need to like get some defenses against like the mystic stuff like that. And I did ask for something about my armor because it's like one of the base things was I wanted to be Black Panther style where it absorbs kinetic, but like also like different energies on spectrum. So like I think like my diamond matrix covers like heat energy, like your blast, everything like blast key, things like that, like anything associated with that. And I was like, well, I know there's like a mystic element to it, so I was like, because we're doing a lot of like ether magic stuff, could I weave in some runes that would like help me absorb like some of the more magical aspects? The DM hasn't gotten back to me on anything like that, so we'll see how it plays out. But that's where I was put on pause, and that was my session.